So to practice line of best fit and writing an equation for your line of best fit, we're actually going to start on number 3. You can go to number 1 and number 2 for some practice on um, some scatter plot analyzing and making a scatter plot for those problems. But in number 3, you're going to need to first make the scatter plot from the data given. So this would be a good time to pause. Okay, so we need -2, 2, -2, 3, -1, 2, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, -1, 2, -1, 2, -2, 3, -2. So your scatter plot should look something like that. So you want a line of best fit. So you want to go as much as you can in the middle of your data. So you should be using your ruler to do that. I'm kind of freehanding on the iPad, so it should kind of hit somewhere in that general area. So we started talking about you have to find your slope. So I want to find 2 points that are on or near my line. So I'm looking at like my 0, 0, and maybe my 2, -1. Okay, now your points might be different, but either way, we could set up a table. I have 0, 1, and I have 2, -1. So I can find the change in my x and y values to get my slope for this problem. Okay, so from 1 to -1 is actually going down 2, and this is going up 2. Okay, and then we set up our slope y over x. So we're talking about -2 over 2, and we should get -1. Now, if you needed to round, you could round to the hundredths if necessary, but you should be somewhere around the slope of -1. Now, we already know in the table where and on the graph that this is the y-intercept, but let's practice finding the y-intercept when it maybe isn't as clear. Like you don't have a point graph, it doesn't hit exactly on the y-axis, like you can't tell. So I want to pick a point, so let me change my color. I'm going to pick this point 0, 1. I mean, it's already my slope anyway, or my y-intercept. But I could substitute 1 in for y. I got a slope of -1, so that goes in place of m, and I have an x value of 0 plus b. All right, so I know -1 times 0 is 0 plus b, and I would get b is 1. So the equation, that was the whole point of this problem, of this line would be y equals -x plus 1. So we're going to try another problem. We're going to do number 4. And in number 4, it's a little different because you're going to have to come up with a scale. So we have the table at the right gives the number of hours spent studying for a science exam and the final exam grade. So remember, you need to think about dependent and independent values. So start labeling your titles and start graphing. Pause the video while you do so. So for this, our independent would be the study hours, and then we'd have our y is the grade. Now for my x-axis, I'm going to start at 0 and just go by ones. And for my y-axis, all right, I got 60 is my lowest, 92 is the highest. So I'm going to start at 60, and this simple down here kind of just means that you're breaking in the scale, like you're jumping from 0 to 60. And now I think I'm going to go by fives. And then I would plot my data. So I got 3 hours, 84, 277, 592, 170, 0, 60, 4, 90, 3, 75. Okay, so again, we need to draw the line of best fit now. So again, I don't want to force anything, and I want to kind of get in this middle of the data. So you should be using a ruler, but that would be my line. So I need to write an equation for this. So I'm going to use my 170 point, maybe my 384 point. Okay, that's going to help me find my slope. So from 70 to 84, we're going up by 14, up by 2. 14 over 2, I should have a positive slope. I get 7. Again, you could round to the nearest hundredth for your slope because maybe your line of best fit is different. I wouldn't erase anything. Just you need to be pretty close to 7. Maybe you got like 6.4 or 8.1. Those are things that are close to 7. But I would be just checking your work. Did you pick 2 points that were close? Like I used these 2 points that I circled, and I would see to make sure that they're close to your line and that you're calculating your slope right. Again, we can see that 0, 60 is the y-intercept, but like maybe my line doesn't hit right exactly there. So I'm going to use my 170 point in my slope. So y equals mx plus b, 70, 7 times 1. So this is even saying like 63 is where it hits. So my equation would be y equals 7x plus 63. And again, it varies based off of where your line is best fit is. But I should be around 60 when I look at this graph, and that I can see. So it's saying predict a grade for someone that studied for 6 hours. You're going to use that equation that you just came up with for your line. So the amount of hours was our x, if you see. So I would be substituting 6 in place of the equation you wrote in part B. So you can go ahead and substitute that in. So mine would be 105, which, yeah, that's probably a little off because we know that that grade doesn't exist. But I mean, realistically, studying a lot, we probably should be like in the 100 or 8 range, somewhere around there. which goes into this next question. Could the line go on forever? That would be no, because 100 is the highest. And I probably got a little bit higher for my prediction because my line probably isn't as accurate as some of yours are. Because when I put this in a graphing calculator, the graphing calculator, which is super precise, and this is what you'll do next year, the graphing calculator tells me that the slope is 6.3 and the y-intercept is actually 62. So the more close you are to something that's in a graphing calculator, the better your answers are. All right, so we're going to do one more. And we are actually going to do number 6, which is on the back of yours. Okay, again, scale is created for you, titles there. The table shows the number of cases of foodborne botulism in the United States for the years 2001 to 2005. Draw a scatter plot and determine what relationship, if any, exists in the data. So pause it, graph, answer part A. If you want to keep going on to part B, you can. Otherwise, come back. All right. So now I'm going to draw my line of best fit on here. And I'm going to use these 2 points. Okay. I should be able to see that, like, I forgot to answer this. So the years are increasing as the cases are decreasing, which would give us that negative association. Okay, so now back to my line of best fit. I'm picking the 2001 39 and my 2003 20. Those points are on or close to my line. Okay, so I can go and find the change in those. So let's see, we're going down 19. We're going up 2, negative 19 over 2. I'm going to have to type in my calculator. Again, I would round hundredths if you need to, keeping it consistent. So 19, what do I do? Okay, I get negative 9.5 for my slope. All right. Now I need to find my y-intercept. So based off my graph, it's somewhere in between 40 and 50, but I'm not exactly sure. So let's see. You have to be careful with this because when we look at our years, although they're going by like a numerical data, this is really like year 1, year 2, 3, 4, 5, because that's going to affect when you go in and you try to calculate. So Let me use the 39. So I got 39 equals, slope is negative 9.5. When I use 2001, that's the first year, plus b. So negative 9.5. I'd add my negative 9.5 over. So based off of my graph, that looks like it makes sense. So I got negative 9.5x plus 48.5. I'm a little high on my slope, so that must mean my graph or my line is a little off because the graphing calculator should be around like 8, negative 8 for a slope. So, and then like around 47-ish. So my y-intercept is pretty close, but the other one is a little off. So again, that's just some practice. Keep this paper. We'll talk about it tomorrow in class, but at this point, you need to pick up the homework on the back shelf. There are some problems where you're going to have to, they have the line and the points plotted, but you're going to have to find your equation. So again, anything that needs to be rounded, you can round to the hundredths. You are able to write your slope as decimals for this so that we can compare. But you need to have your equation in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so write down any questions you have so we can talk about them tomorrow in class and clean anything up together so that we can move forward with line of best fit.